In Trump's worst week, the most fascinating new evidence that was reported was whatever was in David Pecker's safe. David Pecker, the boss of the National Enquirer, is reported to have kept a safe full of material about Donald Trump that he was hiding and would make sure was never published by the National Enquirer or anyone else. One report indicates that that safe was emptied after Donald Trump won the presidential election, and it is not clear tonight what David Pecker did with the contents of his safe that he was hiding for his friend Donald Trump. Joining our discussion now is Stu Zakim, president of Bridge Strategic Communications and a former American Media Inc. executive, and Jerry George, a former senior editor at American Media Inc., the parent company of the National Enquirer. And Stu Zakim, what can you tell us about the way this protection of Donald Trump worked at the National Enquirer?
Well, I haven't been at the Enquirer in a while, but I can speak based on my experience having worked there. Not a lot of things have changed. And when you're a friend of David Pecker, he protects his friends, and I'm sure, and Jerry could probably speak to this better than I can, there was unmentioned missives about when the story came along and they need to go in the garbage can, or in a trash can rather. But this is a way that the Enquirer operated under Pecker for a while, whether it was Trump or other celebrities who were friends of his. One of the benefits of being the owner of the company, you can publish what you want. And so that's how you collect friends who want those favors, and it's they take care of each other, and that's kind of what the situation happened with Trump.
Jerry George, did the protection extend to Donald Trump's children and Jared Kushner, people in Donald Trump's family?
Yes, Lawrence, the entire Trump-Kushner clan have been protected, for years by David Pecker at American Media.
And in what ways? I mean, when did Jared Kushner or the Kushners become of interest to the National Enquirer so that there would be something to protect?
Well, I mean, Donald Trump has always been a high-profile businessman and has, been presidential timber for many years. So, by virtue of that, he and his family, besides their individual accomplishments, are also under the scrutiny of the American public.
Stu Zakim, there's a report indicating that the safe was emptied after Donald Trump won the presidential election. What is your best guess about what happened to the contents of that safe?
Well, the only person who really knows that would probably be David Pecker. But what I find really interesting in this day of technology, and it kind of works on the Enquirer's whole background, that they're putting stuff on paper in a safe when there's no need to do that anymore. It's just asking for trouble. So I just found that amazing.
And Jerry George, there's also reports that some of the people working at the Enquirer made their own audio recordings in the normal course of their work. So it may be that there could be audio recordings there of Michael Cohen's phone calls to the National Enquirer, where Michael Cohen was engaged in these cover-ups that were described in federal court this week.
I'm sure that's possible that people were recorded without being aware of it. But also, it's part of a reporter's job is many times to tape record an interview and inform the subject that they're being recorded. And
Stu Zakim, were you surprised that David Pecker basically turned on Donald Trump and obtained an immunity agreement?
No, not at all, because at the end of the day, what's more important to David Pecker is David Pecker. Friendship, loyalty go by the wayside. He's a businessman, and this is hurting his business. He's going to take care of what he has always done, is take care of himself. And at the end of the day, the guy's a survivor, always lands on his feet, and it's probably going to happen this time as well.
And Jerry George, as this goes on, what is it that what do you imagine Donald Trump is thinking tonight? Because Donald Trump's the other person who knows what David Pecker has, what was in that safe. And so Donald Trump knows what he's hoping won't emerge from that pile in the safe. And I guess you would tell the president that if David Pecker knows it, he's going to tell it to the FBI.
Well, I think David Pecker has always relished the image of this maverick CEO that that have the goods on important people. And his friendship with President Trump goes back probably 20 years. But I agree with Stu, when push comes to shove, David Pecker's going to look after himself first. And I think the friendship will go by the roadside.
Well, it's based on the reporting, it sounds like push has come to shove. Jerry George and Stu Zakim, thank you both for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Lawrence.
And when we come back, where did Don